no problem. But we're just going to start with a two-page spread here. And now I want to change the amount of columns that we have. If you think about a magazine or a newspaper, rarely do you have a block of text that fills up the whole page, but we're going to have a lot of columns of text to give the readers something a little bit more grid-like to grapple with. All right, so in our margins and columns, we're going to adjust our number of columns up to, I like 3, you can do whatever you want. And I'm also going to play around with the gutter. I'm going to make that gutter a little bit wider. I like a lot of white space in my documents. Also going to adjust the margin. I want that margin to be a little bit bigger. And one thing I'm going to make sure when I'm changing the margins is that I make sure that this little chain link is clicked. So when I change it, it all changes together. So I'm going to click that up to a 0.68 margin. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unlink this. And I'm going to increase the size of that middle margin. So I want to keep things away from my spine of the book. That's going to be where the fold of the page is. All right, so I create that. Next, I'm going to create some text boxes. And I make sure I'm using the type tool here. So I'm going to create a nice large text box that's going to span all 3 of my columns because this is going to be my headline. So headline. We're going to make sure that that gets to be the font and size that I want. I know I like Bebas. And I know I want it to be centered. And I know I want it to be really large. So I'm going to click with my text highlighted, I'm going to click in this font size box, and I'm just going to hold down that up button. And that's pretty big. I like that. Once I'm done setting a text box, I'm going to make sure that I kind of close that up. I don't want there to be a whole bunch of extra text box left over, so when I'm accidentally clicking and highlighting things, I accidentally move it around. So tighten that up. And then I'm also going to tighten up the sides in case I want to move it around. And notice how that changes obviously where it is. But if I scroll back, if I move this around, notice how those guides start popping in. The pink line is centered on the page, right? But remember, my page goes all the way to the spine. What I actually want this to be centered to is the purple line. That's this line that's centered between my margins. There we go. All right, so I've got my headline created. I'm going to create another text box that goes right underneath it. You can choose to create your headline any way you like, but I like my headlines to kind of be in line with the beginning and end of my headline. So I'm going to create a fake headline here. Subheading goes here and tells a story. And again, I know what font I kind of like, so I'm going to go for an Arial. Let's do a bold italic headline. Let's make that italic too. And I'm going to increase the size. And I also want to make sure that this is centered as well, but I'm going to center this one by doing a full justification. If I just do a regular center, so I've got space on the right, space on the left. If I do this one, it goes all the way across. It kind of fills in any extra space with space between the words. I can click that up a little bit more. I like that. Okay, again, tighten up my text boxes. Cool. All right, next thing I'm going to do is create a fake feature story that I'm going to drop in here. I'm going to do this one column at a time. So using my text tool again, I'm going to create a little box. I'm going to go to my fake feature story, and I've just got some gibberish words here called lorem ipsum. Copy that, paste it right in here, and then I'm going to make sure before I fill out the rest of my boxes, I'm going to make sure that it's the font and size that I want. So I'm going to do Control A to select everything in that box, and I'm going to change it to a font that I want. I know that I like Corbel, so I'm going to pick that one. I know 12-point font is a little large, so we're going to go down to 10. And let's go to 11-point leading. This leading right here changes the space between the lines. So I'm going to go down to 11. I like that. With that selected, now I'm going to spread out the rest of my text because obviously I have text that keeps going beyond this. And to do that, I'm going to press this little plus button, and that's going to link this text box with whatever text box I place next. And I just have to click and drag. And notice as I'm dragging, those green rulers pop up. Those green rulers tell me like, hey, this stuff is in line with each other. It's the same width. It's the same height. And I can do that again if I want. So even though there's no more text for me to spread out, if I want to make this a 3-column, I could do that and then either even things out. So click and highlight all 3, and then I can kind of even things out this way to get a nice square, a rectangle. Or if I really liked it this way, I could just leave it. I could just leave it as a 2-column, and that'd be fine. Okay, I kind of like the idea of a 2-column, and so I'm going to leave this. It looks a little weird right now, but I'm going to finish up aligning this, playing with this paragraph text. So highlighting everything. Next thing I want to make sure I do is I really like this justification, left justification. It gives me that nice clean line. And I also don't like how I can't really see between these paragraphs. Paragraph breaks aren't clear. I like putting in paragraph breaks in InDesign. So to do that, I can go to the paragraph tab and I can adjust the indents. See how that's changing each one of my indents. Or one that I really like is just changing the space between the paragraph breaks. Now it's really, really clear where one paragraph begins and one paragraph ends. Last thing I really like, so I'm going to highlight the first paragraph, and I'm going to increase what's called the drop caps, and that's this guy right here. Watch what happens to the L in that first paragraph. Pretty neat. The reason why I don't do a drop caps for all paragraphs is that looks really weird. So I make sure that it's just my first paragraph. Okay. Play around with your text. When you think you've got things in a place that you like, if you want to double check, hold down Shift and press W. And obviously I've got some work, but I've got the basics of laying out my document as well as laying out my text. All right, I'll talk about objects and pictures and some graphic design principles in the next video. Good luck.